But let's invite our guest, Porinju Veliyath of Equity Intelligence India, and Ashwini Gujral is also here with us on the show. Evening, gentlemen, and thanks so much for joining in. Porinju, let me start with you. Markets have retraced a bit after going to levels of 8,000 in the Nifty. What lies ahead?
We have a long way to go, Rima, in the markets. And, we are in a structural bull market. There is no doubt about that, and there is no change. The volatility, what we see in the index, 100 points and 200 points up and down, it's normal activity. One cannot take one cannot change the stand, change the conviction like that. Investors should always look at India with conviction from a long-term investing perspective. And there is no better place than India going forward. And, we can discuss many global issues, uncertainties, the economic slowdown. That is all true. There is no doubt that there are challenges, especially in the global arena. It is true that nobody has any idea how the world will look like in next 5 years' time. But I can say we have reasonably good visibility. How will India look like in the next 5 years' time? And that is the most bullish aspect of India and our economy. So investors have to be bullish. And there can be small corrections in the market. Otherwise, I am looking at Nifty moving to 12,000 and 13,000 going forward.
Porinju, hi, that's an aggressive target. What do you think is going to lead this market to 12,000 to 13,000? The market is struggling for leadership. We've seen private banks, seeing short covering rally maybe, but Reliance is not providing leadership. ITC at times has been a laggard. What do you think is good? IT, of course, except for Infosys, we haven't seen much of. What do you think could take the Nifty towards the 12 to 13,000? What would be the triggers?
See, Anuj, even that is not an aggressive target. I'm looking at later, Nifty moving to 15,000 and 20,000. That is the real big picture on Indian economy and Indian stock market from a long-term investor perspective. So I have no doubt about this. I was talking the other day. In January 2008, we had something like 6,300 Nifty. And if you adjust to the inflation, we are 15% down today, adjusted to the inflation and the dividends perhaps on the positive side. So that basically shows our markets haven't moved anywhere. And there were many challenges and many negatives politically. Political mismanagement was the biggest one of them. The corruptions and the scams. Now things are getting better. Then came the 2 years of drought. So this will be an ongoing thing, the negatives and positives. But what is the ultimate thing for this country? What is there in the store? And from that perspective, I'm telling you, we are at a very low kind of a GDP. And we are at a very low kind of a market capitalization. So I am looking at, India adding another $1 trillion to the market cap maybe in the next 3-4 years' time. It can happen even 2-3 years' time if our politicians manage the economy reasonably well.
Let's talk about stocks, because ultimately it's all about individual stocks. Porinju, MCX, why do you like this stock, and what are the triggers for the stock going forward?
I don't know any particular triggers coming up. Of course, there are talks about, the options and being allowed, and the institutions can take part in the futures and options of the commodity trading. So India this is the leader with around 83% market share, and very professionally managed as on today. All its the past problems are over, and very, very good shareholders, including Kotak and kind of people. And we have seen the worst of commodity trading, perhaps, even though I'm not an expert on commodity trading. I'm seeing it as a business model. And this can go long way. When we say 4,500 crores market capitalization for a company in this country with 83% market share. And there are apprehensions and some thoughts that now NSE and BSE, they may all start commodity trading. And that also has affected the stock in the recent past. But I feel it is a bit exaggeration. And, always the leader, they take away most of the market share, even going forward. And such established system and traders are accustomed to this. And commodity prices are turning around. And India, kind of an economy, a dynamic economy like ours, we will see much more maybe 2, 3, 4 times kind of volumes going forward in the next 2, 3 years' time. So this is a direct beneficiary. And when we look at the global peers, in the same system, in the commodity, as a commodity exchange, I think an 83% market share company at 4,400 crores, that makes sense. It can give you 20, 25% kind of compounding for next many years. That's what I believe.
Porinju, real estate stocks have seen some interest in this month itself. So Indiabulls real estate has rallied 20% in April. Godrej Properties has seen a rally of 15%. Which real estate stock would you bet on?
I would be betting on some, not so high quality and not so low quality kind of managements within the space. But when I advise for investors, I always look at companies like Godrej Properties, or maybe Oberoi Realty, or maybe a company like Shobha Developers, very professionally managed companies with a clean and healthy balance sheet. And this industry has been going through bad times in the last many years. So, and the investor sentiment has been very low. So all these put together, you are getting these companies with the future prospects, with immense future prospects at a very attractive levels. So I think if somebody really want to look at safety and decent return, I would say Godrej Properties has the best among the lot. They are the leaders basically in the real estate markets in India. And they have got a long way to go. Now it is around 7,000 crores market cap. It can grow to 20, 25,000 crores kind of market cap in the next 2, 3 years' time.
Okay, that's Godrej Properties, and some of the views that Porinju has are running, and there's the risk factor as well that Porinju believes cost overrun and margin drag. Porinju, Fortis, what's the story here? Are you excited by the way Dr. Lal has done, Thyrocare, the kind of subscription we have seen? Because this stock has been interesting. I mean, it does well in patches, but from here on, what do you think could lead to a re-rating kind of story for Fortis?
Yeah, the biggest problem for Fortis Healthcare was that it has been a listed company. Suppose they came out with the IPO recently, it also would have fetched at least 100% more than today's valuation. Generally we have a tendency in India that, the listed companies, just for the reason that they are listed, it's a bad news. They always fetch something like 40-50% of the valuation of a similar unlisted company which is coming out with an IPO, or they make an private equity placement kind of things. This has been going on for some time. I find next 2-3 years it can reverse. In fact, listed companies, it's well liquid. People can buy and sell anytime. They can exit, enter. So that should be a positive from the investor point of view. And we will see a comparable kind of valuation for the listed companies also. A lot of them in the mid cap. I feel, in fact, if the listed companies get a valuation like new IPOs, that already can make our market capitalization higher by $1 trillion, especially in the mid-cap segment. A lot of leadership companies ignored by the large investors, and some of them are industry leaders, and a growing economy like India, especially considering our demography of 1.3 billion people. I feel these companies have a great role to play going forward. Currently, there could be some challenges. And of course, in the case of Fortis Healthcare, that's one of the largest listed company in the healthcare space. And there are some concerns about the management among a lot of investors. But still, I think these sort of companies can change for much better from the management perspective and from the industry environment. So I find at around 8,000 crores market capitalization, Fortis Healthcare can give a decent return. I'm not talking it as a multi-bagger kind of things. So it's a very large mid-cap, one of the leaders in India, in a very important futuristic industry.
Porinju, you believe the media space is looking interesting now. Which stocks are attractively priced?
Media, I find as an industry, has a long way to go from the market capitalization point of view. But we have really selected a few companies, and stock picking is a challenge. It's not very easy. When you look at some, reasonable or attractive valuation, I find Sun TV looks good, even though there are some overhang about the management issues and all. But these things may not affect the core activity, operations of the company. They've got a very large market share in South and the leaders. They have got a very high profit margin too. And of course, there are some issues like new competition coming up, new strong channels are coming up. But in spite of all those things, it's a very reasonable market capitalization, 13, 14,000 crores kind of a market capitalization, available at below 10 PE. So I find even the companies, again, there was some controversy about the accounting in Eros International, another company, available at around 1,700 crores market capitalization. I'm not telling any particular companies, to be very frank. Investors can search, this is a very important industry in a country with 1.3 billion people. The movies, the film industry is the biggest portion of the entertainment industry in India. And there is a growth projected something like 15% for next 5, 10, 15 years time. And that's a huge growth in today's global environment in a particular economic segment of a country. I believe investors can make big money very, cautiously perhaps and conservative way if you look at the listed space. And many of the companies may come to get listed again. So I think that space as such can grow very big. It can give a 20-25% kind of a compounding return for investors.